Hello there, it's Jan here from JB Crafts. Thank you for joining me and welcome to the channel. If this is the first time here, it's lovely to have you on board. And I have something a bit different again today. I've gone for a concept style card and I love this one. It's one that I've made in the past. Any of you that followed me through my journey with Crafters Companion, I did this as a craft along many years ago now. And I just think it's something a bit different again. I'm all for the something different. Thinking outside the box. It's not my idea. This has been made many times on YouTube. There's pictures of it on Pinterest and things like that. But I just wanted to have it on the channel. And it's what's called a lantern card. So when it's actually popped away, there's a little bit of depth to it, mainly because I've popped some gems in mine. But it would fold reasonably flat. It will fit in an envelope, or you could make a decorative box for it. But the idea is that the whole thing pulls up and you've got, it's what's called a lantern card. So if I just pop it to one side, we're having a little twirl on the twine there, but yeah, you've got these concertina pieces down the side that allow it to spring up and down. It's really clever and it's so simple to do when you see how it's put together. And then I've done a couple. I've done the birthday wishes on the front and the back, and then I've changed the sentiment to just for you on the inside. So you've got 5 panels down each side, and I've decorated mine with a combination of pattern paper, embossed cardstock, and then the sentiment in the middle. And then the whole thing is 6 inches square when it's finished. All right, so the base panel here is 6 inches square. As I say, really straightforward. It's quite, when you see how it's put together, you know, the longest part of this is cutting all the squares. You do need quite a lot of squares. Now, I chose to mat and layer mine on this one. In the past, I just put one layer of paper on, I think. But on this one, I wanted to mat and layer it. And I've got some beautiful green mirror card that was part of a pack that I'd got in my stash. And I just thought it really did highlight the pattern paper. So my pattern paper, I've been dying to use this one. I've only used a couple of pieces out of here. This is actually a pad that I bought locally. I think this is from The Range, is it? Where? Yes, yeah, The Range, which is it's sort of a home shop. It sells all sorts of home decor stuff and things like that. But there is also a very small craft section in the one that I use. And they're only £3.99. 12 by 12 papers. And you've got a 24 sheet pad. Some really pretty. I think I've used this one out of here. I love this one with the butterflies on. But I went for this lovely green one. Let's just see if this one. I just think it's really pretty. I love the combination of the green and the lilac. Really nice colours. You've got a little bit of turquoise popped in there. And I've actually cut it up. You know, you've got very small pieces of it here. And I have still got a half a sheet left. I didn't use a massive amount of it. It depends. If you want to do the whole of the sides in the pattern paper, obviously it would use more. But just cutting all the squares is probably the bit that takes the longest time. Therefore, I have got some of it done ready in preparation. But yeah, I love the idea that it's kinetic. You've got that movement in it. And can you just imagine having this hung rather than placed on a mantelpiece or on a shelf like you do normally with a card? Having it hung there, it would really attract some attention, some interest in what it is and how it's put together. So let's show you how it's done. As I say, very simple. I have got this is my master sheet. I keep all these in a box with I just call it templates because it's got everything that I make has got all the measurements in, but I have broken it down into manageable steps for you as always. So the card base itself, the bit that's going to go at the bottom of the card, I've got 2 pieces. Again, it doesn't have to be 2. It could just be 1 piece of decent weight card. But the actual base, so the largest part here, and this was from a sheet of 12 by 12 card. I got this and the bits for the side pieces, all the pieces that are done in this lilac out of 1 sheet of 12 by 12. And then I've got a piece that's 5 7/8. So I've only come down a 7/8 of an inch. I just wanted a really narrow border around it. And I've got the 2 shades of lilac. These are both from the same paper pad, so that we've got that nice blend with the lilac. It's a very pink lilac. So let's just get rid of that one. I'm not going to stick these together just yet because we need to do some work on the top layer before we actually fasten the back one in place. So I'm just going to pop those to one side. In fact, we'll do this one while I think about it. I popped this through one of my embossing folders, and I just wanted something generic. I thought, do I want butterflies? But then I thought that's a lot of butterflies because they are on the paper. So I've just gone for an old one. I'm not even sure who make these. It's Embossalicious. I've had this a very long time. I'm not sure which company brand that is. And it's just got like little dandelion clocks on. And I thought it was a really nice general sort of feel to fit in with what I'd done with the paper. And I'm going to pop it in here. It is a 6-inch folder. We'll just pass that through the die cutting machine and get that done out of the way. So I'm going to pop it between my 2 very loved plates here. It just fits in the smaller plates. Although I have the large Gemini, I nearly always use the junior plates for it. Oops, crash. And I'm just going to pop that through just behind me. It just sits on the desk behind me there. I've just crashed into something on the way past. My floor space seems to be getting smaller and smaller every day. Got towers of things everywhere. So yeah, when we just take that out now, we've got a really nice subtle finish on there. And just see if you can catch that on the camera there. Really pretty. They're all going in different directions, and that's what's going to sit over this edge here. Now, the one thing that I have done differently today, I don't know, you'll either be very proud of me or you'll think I've forgotten or done something wrong, but I haven't had the inks out. Normally I ink the edges of all my cardstock and paper, but I thought, you know what, we'll just go for it today, and we'll go for just the plain look, and I do quite like it. I didn't want to introduce any more depth of colour. I like this clean cut part with it. So I'm going to leave those to one side for now, because as I say, we need to stick the pieces in between these two before I fasten them together. So I'll not rush ahead like I normally do and do it wrong. Then we're going to bring in these side strips. So we're going to make 4 of these down here, the bits that come down the side. And these are 12 inches long by 2 inches. So I've cut 4 strips straight off my 12 by 12 sheet. Okay, and then, and I'm telling fibs, they didn't all come out of one piece. I used 2 pieces of the lilac cardstock. I was just thinking, then that's 8 inches plus 6. Yeah, I used 2 pieces of this, so out of my paper pad. And then I'm going to bring in my larger scoreboard today, because we've got that 12-inch width there, and we need a scoring tool and a burnishing tool, which is currently hiding from me. There we go. And what I'm going to do, very, very simple scoring today. We're just going to score at every 2 inches. So I'm literally going to do 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. I've literally split it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels. I'm going to flip it over, and at the 4-inch mark and the 8-inch mark, I'm just going to score that again. And this is just to try and prevent some cracking, because we're going to do a concertina fold. It just prevents a little bit of cracking on the cardstock. So I like to score on the side that I'm going to fold. So this one's scored on this side, so I'm literally going to fold it away. And then just start and line all these up here. And then I'm just going to burnish those creases in place. So this one, the score line's on the back, so we're going to go back on itself again, and we're going to create that little concertina piece and burnish each one in place. Flip it over again, fold it back on itself, and by just turning that piece over and reinforcing those score lines, as I say, it gives you a nice finish without cracking the card, rather than if it's scored on this side and then folding it the other way. I just find that you end up with more cracking on the actual card. Depends on the cardstock, I suppose. And then back again. So you should end up with a little pile of 2-inch squares that are concertinaed backwards and forwards. So if I stand them up, you can see there now. Okay, and then you want to sort of check, there isn't really a right and wrong way around it, but you want them with the fold facing you. We're going to start and work. This is going to be the top. So just to help us remember this, I'm going to put T on here. So we're going to work along this outside edge. I'm also on the last one, I'm going to put a cross on that one. That's the bit that wants the adhesive. And I do this myself, not just for the benefit of you guys. I do this just to make sure that I'm working the right way around. And then what we need to do is we need a series of the squares to put them in place. So if I bring this one back in again, we have done our card base. We've got the mat at 6 by 6 and then the layer that we embossed at 5 7/8 of an inch square. The sides, we want 4 pieces that are 12 inches by 2, which was this strip, and we scored them at 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10 to create that concertina effect. Okay, and then the little squares, we want a set of these for each side, and I've got mine all done ready. Again, you don't need to see me stick all those pieces together. But my mat layer are 1 7/8 of an inch. So I've literally, this is a 2-inch square now that we're going to be working on. I've come down 1/8 of an inch at 1 7/8 for my mat layer, and that is my lovely green mirror card. And then the actual layers are 1 3/4 inches. So that's my paper layer or my emboss layer or my sentiment. Now you need 20 of these because we've got 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on each side. The 6th one's going to be tucked underneath the edge like this to fasten it in. So we've got 5 spaces on each one, times 4 is 20 squares. And this is where you have choices. You can either do all of them the same, so you could have all 20 of them done with the same pattern paper, and you could put your sentiment on the back of the card. You can mix up them, you know, there's lots of different ways. I've seen them done where these two have been the same with a sentiment in the middle and these two have been the same. So just to equal my paper out and make it easier, because I make most of my things twice, I did 8 patterned ones. So I've got 2 of the patterned ones on each one. We're going to have one here and one further down. I did 8 of the embossed squares. So again, we're going to have this in the next one and one further down. And then I did 4 sentiments. So I've got 2 that had birthday wishes on and 2 that had just for you. And that's how I've actually worked out my 20. So I've got 8 and 8 is 16 and 4 is 20. So I just wrote a note on there for myself just to explain how I'd done this one. But like I say, 20 in total. So you need 20 matte layers, 20 patterned layers in however, you know, whatever you want to do them with. They could all be embossed layers, they could all be paper layers, you could have more than one sentiment on a row, you could just have a row of sentiments down one side that actually read a message and put pattern around the other. There's lots of scope for it, and then I'll come to those other 2 bits when we get there. So what we need to do now then is pop these in place. So I'm going to go with some wet glue. I just find when you're working with such a small border, so we've only got a 1/16 of an inch border, the wet glue just gives you that minute or so to get things in place. So literally we've got a very, very narrow margin on there, and it just allows you to wriggle it into place if you're not quite accurate with your first attempt. So I'm going to go with pattern paper. Then I'm going to go with the embossed one. And again, I'm not going right up to the edge, not too close, because I don't want that glue to squidge out. This is actually a pearlescent finish on my card, so I don't want that glue squidging out at the edges. So again, just drop it into place and then maneuver it where you want it to go. Add a little bit of pressure, and then that glue can dry. Then I've got my birthday wishes on this one again. So again, not right up to the very edge of it. That one's going to go in the center, so this is on the 3rd part of that accordion piece. Again, just pressing those down. Then I'm going to go back to the pattern paper. So I've gone sort of with a you know, sort of a theme with mine. I've got that same order on each of the strips. This one's going to go here. So I've gone patterned, embossed, sentiment, patterned, and then we're going to do an embossed one again for the 5th. So just literally cut all my squares and then pop them in the same folder. These are embossed with the same one that we did that bottom piece with. And that one's going to go on square number 5. Remember, we're leaving the bottom one blank because that's what's going to anchor it to that main card base. Okay. Right, let's just pop those together and give them a good press. And then you need to repeat this another 3 times. So we need 4 of these in total. So let's just put that to one side for a minute. And in true crafty fashion here, we have got 3 more already done. Take the clips off them now. I was just holding them all together to stop them springing apart while I was storing them there. So this is the one that we've just done. And then we've got a Just For You. And exactly the same. If I lay them out like that, you'll be able to see them. Birthday wishes. Then we've got another birthday wishes and another Just For You. So these are going to be my 4 sides. The bottom ones, the one that we put the cross on, is the bit that's going to stick under the base, all right? And that's the bit that we need to do next. So I'm going to bring the piece back in that we embossed, flip it over, and what I've done is I've measured mine. So I've gone for the centre, remembering that this is 5/8 of an inch. I've just measured the centre here, and I've drawn myself a crosshair in the middle here to help line these up. Now, you can eyeball this, but if you want everything to be, you know, as straight as it can be, on the bottom edge of here, these are 2 inches, and I'm just going to pop myself a little mark at 1 inch. So just finding the centre of these strips here at the bottom. And again, you know, it helps you line everything up. If you want to just eyeball this, you can. But the OCD dictates to Jan that it has to be done in a certain way. So let's just pop those in the order that they're going to go. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the one with the cross on here, and we're going to stick it underneath that panel. And the reason I put the lines on is now I can use that line that I drew on the back of here along with this one to get everything exactly centered. And it wants to wrap around here the best you can. So get everything positioned. I'm going to use that wet glue again for the same reason, just so that we've got that little bit of movement time. So I'm going to squeeze it all together, and I'm putting the glue where I put the cross. That was the purpose of putting the cross in there, so that I knew which side to put my glue on. And then what we're going to do is flip it over. I'm going to use my cross here, which is very, very faint. I think I was very light-handed with the... And then wrap it so that this one hugs the side of the actual page. And then you can wriggle it into place and line this little mark at 1 inch up with the one that we ran through the middle of the card. And then when it's done, give it a good press into place. So it should be literally hugged around the edge of your card design. And then just to stop these from flapping about, I am going to pop my little clips back on here. It will help when we come to put everything together. So I'm just going to pop that back round here just for now. Then I'm going to come across to the other side, and I want the other one that's got the birthday wishes on. Okay, because we've got birthday wishes there. Let me just double check. And those 2, yeah, are Just For You. So again, pop it all together. Put the glue on the one that has the cross on it. And then we're going to flip it over. We're going to flip this one over, and I'm going to work on the opposite side now. So again, I'm going to pop this in here and just make sure that it's as wrapped as far as you can get it. That piece of cardstock is pushed right into that fold line, and give it a good press down. Okay, And then I'll use my clip again to hold all these in place. It just stops everything wobbling about while you're working on the back of it. Now we're going to do the same with these. So I've got my cross here again. And as I say, it helps not get the glue on the wrong side. And then flip it over. And then we're going to come round the sides now. So I'm going to go underneath and I'm going to line this one up. As I say, you've got your little pencil mark. And again, just pushing that piece of base cardstock as far as it'll go into there. Give it a good press. And then we've got another little clip to hold those together. And then we've got one last one to fit in. So again, it's the same principle. Once you've got the idea of how this goes together, it really is the same principle all the way around. We're doing the same thing 4 times. Flip it over, hug that piece of cardstock there, line it up with the measurements that you've made and press it into place. So you've got sort of almost like a tic-tac-toe grid on the back now. So you should have the 4 pieces in the middle with the other squares blank underneath. Okay, now for some reason I've lost my other clip, so I'll use one of those on there just to hold that one in place. So this is what it looks like at the top, and then you've got those pieces in place. Once you've done that, we can then add this piece over the top, and it strengthens it and it covers all this up. Now, if you don't want to do the extra layering, you could have both of these the same size. You could have both of them at 6 inches. Excuse me. Oh, I can just feel that coming on. Yeah, you could have them both 6 inches. So this one could be 6 inches as well. But I like the idea that there's just a little bit of border. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my glue all over the back of here, and I think we'll go back to the all-purpose glue just because it adds a little bit of strength to that finished design. So we'll use this one, and I want to go all the way around, and I'm not going to go too close to the edge because again it helps it not squeeze out everywhere. Plenty of glue under all of this because you want it to seal well, and as I say, the all-purpose glue allows that extra sort of rigidity when it dries. And then I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to use my little clips here and just drop it into place. And again, you've only got that narrow 1/8 of an inch border. And then we can take these out, and we've still got time to wriggle everything into place because we've used that wet glue. So move the clips out the way, and then just make sure that you're happy with how that's landed. And again, using the wet glue just gives you that tiny bit of movement to get a nice even border all the way around there before you commit to actually pressing it all down. So give it a good press. Try not, as I say, not going too close to the edge with the glue allows it not to seep out onto that pearlescent card. And you can see we've got our pieces at the ready. So all we need to do now is fasten it together. And that's done with this little this cross structure piece in the top here. Okay, so what we're going to do then is we're going to need 2 more little strips of card. If I go back to my list here, the center top piece, which is going to be the cross in the top, we need 2 pieces that measure 4 inches by 3/4 of an inch. So I've got those here at the side of me. So 2 pieces that measure 4 inches by 3/4 of an inch wide. And then I've done a couple of bits to those in preparation. I've measured the center, and I've punched a little hole in the center with my Crop-A-Dile in both pieces. I've just put them together and punched through with the Crop-A-Dile. And then I've actually put some tape on the ends. I've used double-sided tape for this. I find this works. It's a nice quick way of doing it. And then we're actually going to stick them across each other like so. So I got mine in place and measured them, and I've put a couple of pencil lines so that I know where I've not got to bother straightening everything up. So we're just going to line the holes up, line up the pencil lines. This will get covered up anyway, so the pencil lines won't show, and we can stick those together. So again, I'm going to come back to that wet glue, the acrylic glue this time, and I'm going to put some glue inside where that pencil line is. Oh, excuse me. I don't know what's going off today. I've taken my antihistamine and I am still sneezing. And then we're going to lay this one over the top. Let's just move that to one side for a minute so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to line up the holes underneath, and that should drop in between those two pencil lines, just so that you've got a nice straight cross there. And then just give that a second. I'm going to leave that for a minute so that it can dry before we start trying to pop it in the middle. And then I've also cut a couple of circles. Now I had run out of that. This is slightly darker. You can just see here it's slightly darker than that, but I quite like it. This one I did in the same cardstock as the background piece, the sides. This was all done in the same, and then I've chosen a little bit of this one to go on top, but I actually quite like the darker circle. And this was just some scrap out of my scrap box, and I've cut 2 circles, and these are what we're going to use to do the center. And then I've done one in the lighter color like we did on the bottom, punched a hole in the center again, and I've popped an eyelet in there ready. And then we're also going to need some twine, so let's just cut off a little piece of that. You can put ribbon through here if you want to make the hole a little bit bigger. You can add some ribbon if you wish, you know, whatever this fastening needs to be. Just excuse me a second. There we go. So we've got all these ready now to do the remaining part of the design. So we're going to leave that for a second, and I'm going to prepare this one. So I'm going to, through the eyelet itself, I want to pop my twine. So let's just pop that through there. Got bits of glue stuck to me. Yep, like so. And then once you've got this at the length that you want it, which mine's about, let's have a look, roughly, I would say about 2 inches I've got showing through the top. So yeah, we're just going to get that in place, and then I'm just going to cut a couple of pieces of my tape to just secure that on the other side. So turn it over, and then I'm just going to split these and stick each side down underneath here. Make sure that they're nice and secure underneath, because this is the bit that you're going to pull the design up and down with. So just give that a really good press around the twine there, or the ribbon, whatever it is you're using here. And that's going to hold that. And then I'm going to snip off those end bits so that that's all concealed underneath the circle. So we've got our little topper here that we can pull up and down with. Okay, so what we're going to do then is we are going to pop this piece in next. So let's just have a little shuffle, pop those over there. I need my craft pick to get this off. So this is going to sit right in the center here. So again, if you're not great on lining things up, you could pop yourselves a little tiny mark in the center of here. But all I'm going to do is actually look at the squares that are left. So I've got 4 squares in the corners here, and I'm just going to eyeball and make sure that those are about equal. So we're going to fold back each one of the tops now. So let's take that out again. So that very top piece, and it's only that top edge, we're going to fold out, and then I'm going to put this one in position. But before I do that, I want to take the liner off my tape. Now again, you can do this with wet glue. It can be a little bit fiddly, which is why I've used the tape, because you get that instant stick. because holding everything together and getting everything and waiting for the glue to dry, they can sort of pop back off again. So if you've got a tape, this is the, you know, the best opportunity to use it. So once you've got that, I've got the rest of the concertina part on the card. I've just got that top piece open, and we're going to lay this in position and make sure that it's as central as it can be. So I'm looking at those little squares in the corner. And then when you're happy that that's about halfway for each one, we're going to close this and give it a good press. And then I'm going to do the opposite side onto all of them, and that tape's going to catch those top pieces. So we've now actually got the whole thing fastened together. Now, yes, I can still see my pencil lines here, but like I said, we're going to fasten this one over the top. Okay. And then I'm going to put this one, slide this underneath so that we've got a back on it, just to strengthen it. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to pop, I'll take the backers off this because this will give us a little bit of extra stick. And then I'm going to add glue to the whole area of this underneath. Now, I've done such a good job of pressing it down. I can't get it off. No, we just want the liner off. There we go. So that can go in the bin. And then the whole of the back of this, I'm going to put that wet glue on again. Just avoid the hole in the middle. Not too close to the edge again, because we don't want it all to seep out. Even over the twine, just to make sure that everything is secure as it can be. And then I'm going to line up the hole here with the one that we made in the middle of the... So this helps us to line everything up. You can attach this to the top of here with the eyelet if you wish. But I didn't find it was necessary. So I'm just going to pop my finger underneath here, and I'm literally going to line up that with the centre there. So I've got about the same showing on all the corners. Give that a good press down. And then I'm going to turn this one so that I've got the reverse side. Put the glue on here. Plenty of glue under there again. And then we're going to slide this one underneath, like so, and just line them up. And it just gives it a nice finish on there, and it also strengthens that top section. So give that a good press. You can hold it together. You can pop your clips on it again if you wish. This is actually quite a quick grab, the Nuvo glue, so it does catch quite quickly. And then just leave it for a second or two. Don't be tempted to pull it up and down until that glue has dried. And then just for embellishment, I'm going to find out which one is my front. So I think this time we're going to have this at the front. And then I've just die cut a couple of little butterflies with one of my dies, and I've gone, instead of all the lilac, I've gone for this sort of turquoisey blue that was in here. And I'm literally just going to stick these with the centres just at the front here to add a little bit more detail, and just let people know that that is actually, I mean, it doesn't really matter which way around you open the card. It's like there are greetings on all the sides. But this, ooh, that's way too much glue there. What happened there? We don't need all that on there, Jan. And then this one's going to go on here, like so. And like I said, it is quite simple. There is more preparation work than there is actually putting it together. As I say, the longest bit by far was cutting all the little the squares up. But I just went through it like a mass make. So I cut all my green ones first because they were all the same. So I cut 20 of the metallic ones, the Miricard. I've got a little strip of that left. As I say, it's a lovely colour. It's one that I had in my stash. It's almost teal. and it was the perfect match for the pattern paper. So yeah, I cut all those first, and I'd got those set into 4 lots of 5. Then I did my pattern paper, and I cut 8 of those. Then I did the 8 squares in the lilac, and then, well, they all fit in the embossing folder, so I just passed it through once. Then I did my 4 sentiments and got those stamped up, and it doesn't take as long as you think. But yeah, once this is ready, when that glue's dried, we've got the facility to lift it up just like so. I don't want to do too much until that's dried. So that's the bones of it. And if I bring this one back in, again, the only thing that I did, I added a couple of pearls in this top corner just to offset the butterflies here. And then I couldn't help myself. I had to go round onto the sentiment ones and just add some smaller versions of what I'd used elsewhere. So I've got 3 sizes. I've got the medium ones, the small ones, and then the little diddy ones on the birthday. So the 2 sides that have birthday. And then on this one, I've just used a little lilac gem in the centre of that was part of the sentiment, the butterfly. And I've just picked out the lilac there in contrast to go on the little butterflies there, which is why mine doesn't fold completely flat. But I think I'd be inclined to make either probably an envelope box actually, rather than a box itself. Probably do the envelope box to pop this in. If I made this the 3/4 of an inch deep, would be more than enough to fit that in an envelope box, or even maybe even in the 1/2 inch one. It would fit, and you'd get a really nice sort of finished, almost like, I think when you put something in a box, it's almost like a gift rather than just a card. It's sort of all in one. So yeah, that's my lantern card. I hope you've enjoyed that. It is very different. It's not like anything that I've seen before. As I say, not my design. I've made this before, and I've seen it on YouTube and on Pinterest. There are several people have made it, but I just think it's something different, and you can just imagine that hanging somewhere. It sort of rotates by itself, you know, because of the nature of the design. You can see it moving, and I just think it would be a real eye catcher with regards to a celebration. So a birthday, a special event. If it was a special birthday, you could actually have the number. So say it was a 50th birthday, you could put the number 50 on one of these. You could put personal messages. You could put a name on it. Yeah, lots and lots of different ways of doing it. And then all I did on the back was just add another layer. So I've just gone with plain white cardstock. I've stamped in the middle, and this is where I would actually write my sentiment on here, because if you want to write a message to someone, there's very little space on the inside there. If you wanted to, you could add a smaller square inside the middle here, and you could write your message before you stick it all together and put this in the middle. So if this is a 6x6 square, maybe a 4x4 in the center here, something like that, and you could write that message so that when it opened up, the recipient could read the message. But I actually like on this particular one to have that space on the back to pop your message on. So birthday wishes just for you on your special day. They all link nicely together. So yeah, if you've enjoyed that one today, please consider giving it a thumbs up for me. It does help us out a lot when we're using YouTube. And if you are new to the channel, I would love to have you as a subscriber, so you can hit that subscription button, hit the notification bell, which will tell you every time I upload. Generally, that is Tuesdays and Saturdays as a regular slot. There are sometimes odd ones in between. But yeah, Tuesday, Saturday are my regular upload days. So yeah, thank you for your company today. Thank you for all the comments that you put on the videos. I do read them. I do try and acknowledge them. And it does give me that sort of, you know, sort of comfort that I am, you know, doing the right thing and people are enjoying what I'm doing. And that feedback is really nice to read. So yeah, thank you to those of you. There are quite a few of you that are regular commenters, and I do appreciate that from all of you. So yeah, enjoy whatever you've got planned for your day, and I'll see you very soon with another tutorial. I'm off now. I'm going to go make a cup of coffee and see if I can get rid of the croaky throat, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.